Okay, let's have this. So, this is actually happens to be the very last question on the list. I don't know why, but subject, happy thoughts. A thought comes that can at times trigger negative emotion. I look at it and let it pass. I don't react to it. I stay spacious. However, when nice thoughts come, like life is beautiful, everything is working out perfectly for me, I want to feel them fully, or should I ignore those as well? What do you think? Well, the first thing I think that anybody would probably say, it's more pleasant to have nice thoughts than negative thoughts. It feels better, certainly. The body likes it more too, because negative thoughts, negative thoughts influence the body in some way, obstructing the energy flow. You can test it out for yourself when you feel stressed or got into repetitive negative thoughts, then your body doesn't like it. It reacts. Even mainstream medicine is discovering there is a link between, well, some still say no, but there is a link between your predominant state of mind or consciousness and the physical functioning. Not that now you may also find that negative thoughts proliferate and multiply much more readily than positive thoughts. A negative thought wants to proliferate, and it wants to produce more negative thoughts. So, and then you may find a positive thought is quite happy to stand alone. There isn't the pull towards proliferation of more of itself. A positive thought is much less likely to become obsessive, that you can't get rid of, than a negative thought. So when you are trapped in the mind, it's very rare, if ever happens, that you are trapped in obsessive good thoughts. You are usually trapped in obsessive negative thoughts. Because that is what negative thoughts love to do. They love to take you over. They want to, for some reason, they're like certain insects that suddenly reproduce and become from one. They give birth to 50, and the 50 give birth to another 50, and suddenly you have millions and billions of them. And so the fundamental difference then is a negative thought is actually, first of all, makes you feel better, is easier to experience that which follows the thought, because often after negative thought you just experience the reality of what the thought just pointed to. Life is beautiful, the person here mentions as an example of a positive thought. Life is beautiful. What's wrong with that thought? Because after that thought you're actually going to have a certain experience of life being beautiful. So the thought was no more than a pointer, a signpost. And that's perfectly fine. You use thought as a pointer. It does not absorb all your attention as a thought. It's quite happy to be just a pointer. Life is beautiful, and then perhaps for the next few minutes you appreciate everything that is around you. And it becomes a true experience. So as a pointer it can work beautifully. And the negative one is just one and after another, it becomes obsessive. So, but even if you change all your thinking from negative to positive, the most vital thing is to realize that which is beyond all thought. Positive thought in itself is not yet liberating. It doesn't liberate you. Can be nice, but it doesn't liberate you. Only to find the place that is beyond all thought liberates you. Now, does that free you from negative thoughts? Yes. After a while, the negative thoughts need your identification, which means your unconsciousness, in order to proliferate continuously in your life. It's only if you're identified with them, you give them your total attention. In fact, it's not only that, you become them. They come out of your mouth when you speak. They're in your thoughts. They take you over. They possess you. You become them. And that's how they continue to grow and take over your life. And it can happen. Some thoughts or thought patterns have the same function in the human mind in many cases as a virus has in the body. A virus can proliferate and takes over the body, and so there are many mental viruses that people get taken over by and can't get rid of. Sometimes you have that virus the whole lifetime. Persistent, deep-seated negative thoughts that occupy either your entire mind or a particular section of your mind. And sometimes the virus that can take over collectively an entire collective entity of human beings, be it a nation or a tribe or a religion or a section within a religion. It can be a political movement that suddenly has all the answers and knows where the enemies are. It happened when National Socialism in Germany was an infection of a collective mental virus. Soviet communism, which started, of course, with good intentions, but of course there had been absolutely no change in consciousness, so good intentions are not enough unless there's a shift in consciousness. Good intentions will lead you to more suffering if there's no shift in consciousness. So Soviet communism became an awful thing, and it took over as, again, a collective mental virus. China under Mao Zedong, a collective mental virus. Millions and millions died in China, in Soviet communism, obviously Nazi Germany. Millions and millions. Under Mao Zedong, children would denounce their parents. If a child was unhappy with their parents, they would go to somebody at school and say, my parents are saying this and that. The next day they would be taken away to a labor camp and never be seen again. Total insanity. So a collective, flowers were declared illegal. They had to tear out all the flowers. Bourgeois infection, we don't want flowers. And many, just countless things being taken over by an entire nation being taken over by a mental obsessed with certain mind forms. And then it passes. It doesn't, can last a couple of decades. In Soviet communism lasted fairly long. National Socialism, the 1,000-year Reich, lasted, I don't know, 15 years or something. So it runs its course, and then like a virus infection, after a while, the virus disappears, and a semblance of sanity returns. Certainly sanity compared to what was there before. There's still the normal insanity that's part of the normal state of consciousness, but not the extreme unconsciousness that can take over when a thought form becomes a virus. And of course it happens to individuals. They interpret the world through their mental virus. You might have certain ideas. If you go on the internet too much, and you might see things that suddenly put... The virus infection can happen by looking up certain things on the internet, and you suddenly believe totally in what this... It could be a total fantasy, but it looks so convincing that it becomes a thought form in your mind, and then from there it grows, and after that you only have contact with those people who are also infected by that thought form, and you think that becomes then your reality. That is the case with many conspiracy theories. Now, I'm not saying that 1 out of 10, 20 or 50 conspiracy theories may not be correct. It could well be. But many of them are fictitious constructs. But of course, the world is pretty insane, so it's probably more insane than you realize, and that includes particularly politicians and political power play and so on. So I'm not denying that absolutely there is no conspiracy. There are quite mad things happening that we don't know about, and yet I wouldn't go that way. Even if it's true, don't get drawn into that. Your job is to be present. Your job is to embody a different state of consciousness. You cannot fight unconsciousness on its own level. You have to rise above unconsciousness.